Exploring the Fallout 4 Iceberg? Let's go. Vault-Tec phone number. A lot of people might be familiar with the Vault-Tec phone number, most recently from the Fallout TV show, where if you called it, you got this message. And that is very, very creepy, but if you decided to text the number, you would get a message basically saying that the next available appointment is from 33 weeks from now. But that is not where this Easter egg actually starts. It actually goes all the way back to Fallout 4 and even farther back than that in Fallout 3. In 2008 at E3, the trailer for Fallout 3 actually showed this 1884 Vault-Tec number, and the number returned again in Fallout 4. And if you called the number, you would get this message.
Thank you for calling Vault-Tec, your first choice in post-nuclear survival. We're sorry, but due to unexpectedly high call volume, all representatives are currently busy. Please stay on the line, and someone will be with you as soon as possible. There are
101 million
callers in front of you. Estimated wait time
78,643 hours.
Thank you for calling Vault-Tec. Have a wonderful day.
Now don't try to call that number anymore nowadays because it's basically inactive. At one point in time, it was bought by an adult service that you would call for, and as hilarious as that is, it definitely probably scarred a lot of kids. But nowadays that number is no longer in use. But Bethesda definitely does have a habit of using real numbers that you can call with their games and their TV shows. So with Season 2 on the way, and probably the next Fallout game in the next couple years, I'm curious to see what other numbers they're gonna have. Crashed UFO. This is one of my favorite encounters in Fallout 4. Upon reaching level 20, randomly in the sky you will see what seems to be like a ship crashing down into the earth. And following said crash, you can come across this UFO. Now there is another way that you can actually activate this. If you head to Relay Tower 1DL109, you will discover the garbled radio beacon. And following it will also lead you to the crashed UFO. But upon reaching this UFO, you will notice that 1, you really can't interact with it or anything, which is kind of a shame, and 2, there is going to be a trail of what appears to be green blood, and following this trail will lead you to an unmarked cave, where inside the cave you will find an alien. And this alien is automatically hostile, and upon killing him you will receive the alien blaster and a couple hundred alien blaster rounds. So, not too bad. And inside the cave next to a human skeleton you can find the ham radio, which is the source of the garbled radio beacon, so just pretty neat to know. Now, because there is no official sponsor for this video, I'm gonna plug my GamerSubs code. Make sure to use code CRAZY to get that money off. What's better than saving money? GamerSubs has a lot of cool new merch, flavors, and cups for you guys to choose from, so if you are a huge fan of anime stuff, make sure to check it out. Use code CRAZY, link is in the description. Back to the video. Special book. I believe this is just talking about the special book that you see prior to the actual game starting, which can be found on a table right next to Sean's crib, and also after the game actually starts. Heading back to Sanctuary Hills, if you head into the ruins of your home, you can find the same special book around the crib, and using it, it will give you 1 additional point to add to any of your specials. Cryolator glitch. I believe this might be talking about the dog meat glitch in order to get the cryolator, especially because this is just so high on the list. But early on in the game in Vault 111, in the Overseer's office, you can see this cryolator behind an extremely hard locked safe. And naturally, of course, the forbidden fruit always tastes the best, so you're gonna wanna have it. Well, if you have dog meat and you come down here, you can actually command him to fetch an item for you. And if you do it in the room with the cryolator, he'll just go and get it for you. And after all these years, I believe this is still working. I've seen a bunch of people say that it doesn't work for them, but as of making this video, it still works. If you have a bunch of mods, there are a couple mods that do patch this, so maybe check that. And I've just seen so many ways of people discussing on how to get around certain little bugs that may pop up trying to do this, but as of today, get dog meat down in here and he can just go get it for you for free. Sanctuary's basement. I'm pretty sure this is talking about a hidden bunker that you can find behind a house in Sanctuary. Coming over to this blue house kind of at the end of the street, going behind it, you can find a hidden cellar. And inside the cellar, you can actually find a pretty decent amount of goodies that are going to help you very early on in the game, such as ammo, food, and even some gold bars, and even a bed. And surprisingly, weirdly enough, I feel like a lot of people may miss this upon their first couple playthroughs, so if you haven't checked it out, definitely do. Vault-Tec rep is alive. So you know the Vault-Tec rep, the guy that you first see at the beginning of the game, the one who tells you about the vault. Well, surprise, but he actually does survive the Great War. He was unable to actually get into Vault 11. And because of that, he kind of had to take the full force of a bunch of radiation and ended up turning into a ghoul. And if you head to Good Neighbor, you can actually find him and catch up with everything that he's been up to since the bombs fell.
Are you from Vault-Tec?
I am Vault-Tec. 20 years of loyal service, and now look at me. I wasn't on the list. Oh God, I've been so alone here. No Commonwealth settlement, once a ghoul with 200 years of Vault-Tec sales experience.
Where else could you go?
Diamond City bigots don't allow ghouls inside. It's just here or back at Sanctuary, talking to that crazy robot of yours.
Good Neighbor seems like an okay place. Just make the most of it.
You know, if you heard that same keep your chin up shit for 2 centuries, you might feel a bit different. Just leave me alone.
Feral Ghoul Neighbors. This is talking about a random encounter that you can come across where you fumble your way across a pack of feral ghouls that all have unique names. They are Mr. Donahue, Mrs. Donahue, Mr. Summer, Mrs. Summer, Mr. Parker, Mrs. Parker, and Miss Rosa. And these were actually all the names of these sole survivors' neighbors prior to the Great War. And looks like since they were unable to get into the vault, they also took a heavy dose of radiation, and this random encounter is a repeatable one, so even if you kill them, you can also come across it again. Which makes it seem like these ghouls are like immortal and are forever destined to just keep dying to you over and over and over again, and that's kind of scary to think about. The Cask of Amontillado. Beneath Fort Independence, you can come across an Easter egg that is referencing Edgar Allan Poe's The Cask of Amontillado. Down here you will find a skeleton behind what appears to be a half-built wall, along with bottles of Amontillado's wine. And if you take a closer look at the bottle, it says P. Edgar on it. And if you don't know what this short story is, then you obviously never went to an American high school. But in this short story, a man hates this other guy so much for insulting him that as revenge, he lures him down into a cellar by promising him to, hey, let's just go get drunk. And he ends up burying him alive inside of his wall. Honestly, out of all the stories we had to get forced to read in high school, Edgar Allan Poe's kinda went hard. Sunken Catboat. Just northeast of Spectacle Island, on the bottom of the ocean, you can find a sunken boat. And going inside of the boat, you will find the word meow written with many pictures of cats. Which just goes to show you that no matter what game, no matter what world you're in, cats are always going to be loved, even though dogs are just so much better. Nostromo Flux Sensor. During the quest Quartermasterly, you are asked by Scribe Halen to get a bunch of technology. And one of the pieces of tech that you are asked to get is a flux sensor. But if you take a closer look at the flux sensor, on the back of it, it says Flux Sensor CM88B 1809-24609. And just looking at this, you're obviously going to know that it's a reference to something. Fallout has a long and lengthy history of just referencing everything. And of course, this is no exception. This is a reference to the movie Alien, where the entire movie takes place on the USCSS Nostromo, where the CM88B refers to the ship's model and the 1809-24609 refers to the ship's registration number. And I've seen the movie Alien, but I would have never in a million years picked up on this reference. Like, bravo, Bethesda, bravo. Plumber's Secret. Plumber's Secret is an unmarked location that you can come across in the Commonwealth. And from the inside and outside, it just looks like your standard hardware store. But once you get inside of it, you'll notice that things are a little out of whack. If you look on the ceiling, you'll notice that there's just a line of plungers leading up to these boards. And the boards you can't access whatsoever. You can't get up there and reach them, so what's the deal with this? Well, if you actually shoot the boards, it's going to cause all of this loot to just come falling down. And one of the more interesting pieces of loot is going to be the short syringer rifle, which is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It uses air pressure to shoot out syringes at the target. If you like going into an interesting place with tons of plungers and getting a pretty interesting weapon, make sure to look for the plumber's secret. Drunk voice lines. I believe this is talking about the fact that if you get drunk in the game, and also in real life, I'm not going to stop you, but if your character gets drunk in the game, you will get some pretty unique dialogue when initiating conversations with some randies.
Hey. Hey. Hello. You. Hi. Excuse me. Hey.
Covenant Goat Test. Upon approaching the Covenant, you will be asked to take the SAFT test, the SAFE test, which is an entrance exam that you have to do if you wish to enter the Covenant, and its purpose is to quote-unquote keep undesirables out. But the true meaning behind it is just to make sure no dirty synths get in there. But what's interesting about this test is that it is basically a one-for-one of the GOAT test from Fallout 3. The questions are almost identical, the only difference being that any reference to a vault is instead changed to something else. And the answers are basically almost the same, if not just written a little bit different.
So let's begin. There ain't no wrong answers. You are approached by a frenzied scientist who yells, "I'm going to put my quantum harmonizer in your photonic resonation chamber." What's your response?
I'd say up yours too, buddy.
You'd say that.
Question 1. A frenzied vault scientist runs up to you and yells, "I'm going to put my quantum harmonizer in your photonic resonation chamber." What's your response?
Next question. While working as an intern in the clinic, a patient with a strange infection on his foot stumbles through the door. The infection is spreading at an alarming rate. The doctor has stepped out for a while. What do you do?
I scream for help.
You'd rely on others then.
Question 2. While working as an intern in the clinic, a patient with a strange infection in his foot stumbles through the door. The infection is spreading at an alarming rate, but the doctor has stepped out for a while. What do you do?
Next question. You discover a young boy lost in a cave. He's hungry and frightened, but also appears to be in possession of stolen property. What do you do?
Question 3. You discover a young boy lost in the lower levels of the vault. He's hungry and frightened, but also appears to be in possession of stolen property. What do you do?
Before we continue on with the video, I do have to shout out my beloved Patreon supporters. We got Brian Hahn, Person, Fatlucky Potato, Icy Storm, Giovanni Diaz, Mayall, G Daddy Smackdown, Org, Ty Mulan, Simple Simon, One Up Gamer, and Zach White. Patreon supporters get videos early and access to my top secret time machine. So if you would like to go back in time and start your own child sweatshop factory, make sure to become a Patreon supporter. Link is down there below in the description. Todd Howard painting. This is talking about an item you can get in Fallout 4 that seems to depict the painting Napoleon crossing the Alps. But instead of Napoleon's face, it is replaced with Todd Howard. And what makes this even funnier is that this painting actually made an appearance in the Fallout TV show. Water filtration cap stash. This is yet another early game spot that you might just completely miss. Just east of Sanctuary Hills on the other side of the lake, you can find this water filtration system. And to access all of the goodies, all you have to do is flip a switch that's located right next to the riverbank. And once you do that, all of these hidden goodies are going to be yours. You'll find a couple 44 rounds, 3 cap stashes, 2 Radaway, 1 Rad-X, purified water, pork and beans, and a 44 pistol. Now for like mid to late game players, this really isn't helpful at all, but for those just starting out, this can be very beneficial, and it's incredibly easy to miss. Cheers Bar. This is talking about the unmarked location Prost Bar, which is located in the back bay. And the reason it's called the Cheers Bar is because this bar is a replica of the layout of the bar from the TV show Cheers, which was an American sitcom from 1982 to 1993, well before my time. I was born in 96. And before like researching this, the only thing I knew of Cheers was that one Family Guy skit.
We now return to Cheers.
Norm! And Peter, yeah!
But coming inside this bar, you will see plenty of references to the TV show. Behind the bar, you're going to find 2 skeletons that are on the floor holding hands, and this seems to be a reference to Sam Malone and Diane Chambers, who were sort of that on and off again couple. In the corner of a bar, you can find a lone skeleton wearing a tattered formal shirt and pants. This is a reference to Fraser Cain, who went on to star in his own spin-off show, Frasier, which is again another TV show that I've heard of but have never seen. In another corner of the bar, you can find a skeleton wearing a postman's outfit. This is a reference to Cliff Glavin, who was, believe it or not, a postman. And there's another skeleton located next to that one who is a reference to Norm Peterson, who was good friends with Cliff and often sat at the same bar together. And even the name of this unmarked location, Prost, is a German term which translates to cheers, so Cheers Bar. I'm not sure about this last reference, it could be true, it's just what I read, but there are several baseball posters around the bar, and this would be a reference to Ted Danson's character, who was the bar owner Sam Malone, who had a baseball background. And mentioning the baseball background, you can also find 2 baseball grenades in the office, so that's pretty cool. But like I said, I've never seen this show, and I only know of it from like references in other shows, but if you're a big Cheers fan, definitely check this location out. Carhenge. Carhenge is another hidden location that appears in Fallout 4, and like the name suggests, it's very similar to Stonehenge. Located just south from Sanctuary Hills, coming upon it, you'll very quickly realize that you're not the only one here when a giant behemoth comes hurling rocks at you. But if you can manage to take down this Shrek-like ogre, you get access to Carhenge and all of its glory. And there is some pretty okay loot here, especially once you kill the behemoth. But really, the question I have about Carhenge is, did the big guy build it, or was it already here? Who built this? Was this pre-war or was this after war? If this was after war, who built it and how the hell did they know about Stonehenge to accurately like recreate it? Or if they were just randomly stacking cars, did they just happen to like make it like this? And who was strong enough to do it? Was the behemoth like playing Hot Wheels and this is what we ended up with? I just have so many questions. But the funny part about this is there actually is a real Carhenge located in America, but instead of it being in Boston, it's actually located all the way out in Nebraska. Now it's definitely a lot bigger than the one that we see in game, with this one consisting of 39 cars and they're all spray painted gray, and it also being built in 1982 by Jim Reindeers, which he built as a memorial to his father who once lived on the farm now containing Carhenge. So this even raises more questions. Was the Carhenge that we see in Fallout based off the real one that's in real life? Or was it just like a tongue-in-cheek Easter egg to Stonehenge and it just so happened to be a real thing? I just have so many questions about this. Rocket Shed. One of the coolest unmarked locations you can come across is going to be the Rocket Shed. Just northeast of Relay Tower 0BB915, you can find this random looking shed. But upon going inside of it, you can see that it's literally made to drop bombs. And wouldn't you know it, there's just plenty of ammunition, so you can just shoot these things off and have tons of fun. Definitely recommend it. It's so much fun. Dev Room. I believe this is talking about the dev room that you can access by typing in COC QA smoke. And upon doing that, you'll be teleported into this special town-like area that actually looks pretty cool. And it's literally lined with every available suit of power armor and bins holding all the game's weapons, junk, and items. You can literally find everything in here. So if you ever wanted to just play around with a bunch of weapons, see what fits and see what works, or even get all the holotapes, maybe one wasn't spawning in for you, you can just kind of dick around in here for a while and have tons of fun. But I also think this area is kind of really creepy because it is like made to lay out like a town, and there's also like this strange mist coming over it, and it definitely gives that like ghost town vibes. So whenever you get like creeped out enough, you can always type in COE1 to leave. Norwegian Raiders. I believe this is talking about the location wreck of the FMS Northern Star, which just so happens to be populated by ghoulified Norwegian raiders. Never thought I would ever say that sentence in my entire life. But exactly what it sounds like, you will find a bunch of ghouls that happen to be speaking Norwegian. And they only have a couple lines, but some of them are this.
La oss være I fred.
Which translates to leave us alone. And there's also this one.
Gå vekk fra våre skip.
Which translates to get off our ship. And they also have.
Du vil angripe oss.
Which means you'll regret attacking us. And they have this one.
Der var vondt.
Which means that hurt. And the last one is upon their death.
Jeg kommer hjem.
Which means I'm coming home. Now, believe it or not, this is all kind of based in reality. The FMS Northern Star is actually based on a real ship. It's based on the MS, not even gonna try to pronounce the Norwegian term, but the MS North Star, which was constructed in Hamburg, Germany in 1956, and was used on the, this word, which is a Norwegian public coastal route that transports passengers that travel locally, regionally, and it did its job all the way until 2012. And at that point, it was the oldest operational ship in the fleet. And it is the ship with the longest history of the hard Norwegian word service. And in 2012, it was protected as a national heritage in Norway. Diamond City Holidays. Believe it or not, Diamond City actually does celebrate some holidays. It will celebrate Christmas and Halloween. Not when it's Christmas and Halloween in real life, when it's Christmas and Halloween in game. So you can technically just sleep your way all the way until Christmas and Halloween. But on October 31st in the game, there will be Halloween decorations all over, and even some NPCs will have some quotes about it.
Today's Halloween, but do we get treats? No, it's all tricks all day.
And very similar to when it's Christmas, you will see Christmas trees and Christmas lights all over the place. And of course, some NPCs will have some things to say about it.
Can you believe today's Christmas? Ho ho friggin' ho.
It kind of just blows my mind that like out of all the holidays that survived, Christmas and Halloween were the ones to do it. Like they have no understanding of like really baseball, despite the fact that they're living in a baseball field, but they still remember Christmas and Halloween. That's just pretty funny to me. The Scribe Vendor. The Scribe Vendor is an armor merchant that you can find walking around the wasteland. And from his appearance, it definitely looks like this man was at one point a part of the Brotherhood of Steel. And upon talking to him, you can get his story, where he says that he was once in the Brotherhood of Steel, back when it was something to be proud of, back when they used their knowledge to help people rather than just simply hoarding it for their own power. And of course, he is talking about back when Lyons was in control. And then he goes on to say, when Squire Maxon took over, well, I didn't like the change he made to the Brotherhood. Some say it was a return to our ancient traditions. Maybe so, but things are not necessarily better simply because they are ancient. So I left. Since then, I've been walking up and down the world until I found myself here. So this man is an old school Fallout 3 Brotherhood of Steel scribe, but when Maxon took over, he didn't like the direction that they were heading in. And sorry I couldn't play you guys the audio, my game was just so bugged out. I tried every command in the world, I just could not get him to say this line. Maybe it was the mods, maybe it's just the game, but it was probably the endless mods that I have. But the thing that makes this guy so interesting is you can't have him come work for you. You can eventually get him into a settlement, and if you assign him to an armor emporium, you get access to a couple special items with 2 legendary armor pieces. So essentially, just by walking the waste, you might get lucky enough to find a guy that will come work for you and get you some legendary pieces of armor. But that's if you can get him to spawn. If you have the Omnitron DLC installed, it does become kind of difficult for this guy to survive. A lot of the spots that he will appear in may or may not be frequently patrolled by Rust Devils. But if you can manage to come across him, do whatever you can to try to get him to come to your settlement. Trashcan Carla is a spy. Trashcan Carla is a wandering caravan merchant that just patrols the Commonwealth. She operates out of Bunker Hill and has a variety of stuff, weapons, armor, and just some random junk. And you can normally find her running a circuit between Sanctuary Hills and the Drumlin Diner. and you can even encounter her in Bunker Hill and all the places in between. And after first talking to her, if you actually give her a sarcastic response the first time you meet, you'll be given a permanent 10% discount. So it always helps to be a smartass. But talking to her and buying things from her and even asking her for directions, you never get any hints that she's actually an Institute spy. Well, if you head to the Institute and you go into one of these terminals and look up a list of informants, Trash Can Carla is one of the Institute's informants. And it seems like looking through this list that a lot of caravanners are actually secretly working for the Institute, which would make a lot of sense. They would want people that are constantly on the move and not just stuck in one spot. They want to get as much information as possible, and who better than a wandering caravaner? Reeb Marina twins are the same person. This is a very interesting theory that states that the twins you learn about at the Reeb Marina are not exactly twins, but the same person with some sort of personality disorder. But first, let's learn about the background of what happened here at Reeb Marina. Accessing this location, you are greeted by a Mr. Handy that says this.
Hello, Eugene! Your brother Malcolm has prepared a surprise for you. Follow me. Happy birthday, Eugene! Happy birthday, Eugene! Happy birthday, Eugene! Don't stand still!
So obviously, someone has a vendetta against this Eugene guy. They programmed robots to lull him into a false sense of safety and then immediately turn on him and try to kill him. Well, exploring around the area, we can find some notes and terminal entries that kind of give us a little bit of background on what exactly happened. One of the first things we can find is a break room note to Malcolm from Eugene. Would you mind not slurping your coffee? I can literally hear you on the other side of the hangar. If you didn't know any better, I think you were doing it on purpose. And right next to it, we can find another note to Eugene from Malcolm. Everything on this counter is mine. Touch anything and you're a dead man. So it seems like there is some sort of hostility between these two. Well, going to the bathroom, we can find another pair of notes. From Eugene to Malcolm, Malcolm, empty the latrine when it's full. And of course, right next to it, we have another note. Dear Eugene, eat shit. Sincerely, Malcolm. So it's not looking like these two were exactly buddy-buddy. Well, if we continue to explore, we can find a bunch of terminal entries. This one seems to be Eugene's. And the date is not too long after the bombs dropped. First day in the marina, 10 days since the bombs fell, and the world has gone mad. Malcolm and I might just be able to pull this off. The boats are still in good condition. If we can get one of them up and running, we can escape the chaos of this war. I'm glad Malcolm is here. Family have to stick together, even if he is an annoying slob that slurps his coffee. 20 days later, he has another entry. 20th day at the Reeb. If that blasted fool thinks he can tell me what's what, he's got another thing coming. He needs me, and that means what I say goes. We are escaping south. That jackass is never going to fix the other boat without my expertise and parts. And for what? To head north, of all places? If he wasn't my own flesh and blood, I'd clobber his coffee slurping contrarian face with a wrench. I think he's doing it on purpose. And the last terminal entry he has is, he slurped his coffee for the last time. He must die. It's the only logical choice. And really, he has no one to blame but himself. All I need are the parts from his boat, and I can escape this irradiated hell. I've been looking into the robot safety protocols, and I think I'll have a little happy birthday surprise for him. So it seems like shortly after the bombs dropped, this Eugene and Malcolm guy were related. They were family. But with the stress of everything that was going on, they slowly started to get on each other's nerves to the point where Eugene wanted to kill Malcolm. Well, if we continue looking around, we can also find a terminal that was from Malcolm, and his entries are very, very similar to Eugene's. We just got to the marina today. It's hell outside. We should be able to fix one of the damn boats and sail ourselves out of here. My uptight brother drives me nuts sometimes, but family sticks together through thick and thin. We've got a lot of work to do. I need a cup of coffee. Day 25. After I told that pinhead off, he stopped talking to me. We must go north. That chicken shit has started leaving a little notes everywhere instead. Two can play at that game. Day 45. Well, it's our birthday tomorrow. Eugene wants to bury the hatchet, and I just might bury it in his back. I I know a little trick with the robot security protocols. It'll make for a nice birthday gift for that bastard. He'll never see it coming. So we learned that these twins started the war off needing each other's help, but slowly over time came to hate each other. And it seems like they're more alike than they think. They each think the exact same way, with the only difference being on which direction to head and how loud he sips his coffee. But going back to the break room, you only see one skeleton on the floor, and the boats are still there. So what happened to Malcolm? Where is he? If he was successful in programming the robots to kill Eugene, wouldn't he have just fixed up the boats and sailed out of here? And that's where the theory comes in, that this was just one guy that went absolutely crazy. And since in his mind he was both Malcolm and Eugene, a pair of twins that were living before the bombs dropped, he programmed the robots to inadvertently kill himself. So when he, as Malcolm, programmed the robots, he would walk in as Eugene and ended up getting killed. Now, is there any actual proof behind this theory? No, not really. When you really start to look into it, it kind of does fall a little flat. If you go outside behind the marina, you will see a coffin with a skeleton inside and some flowers on top of it. And upon this revelation, it all kind of makes a little sense on what exactly happened. Malcolm was able to successfully program the robots to kill Eugene. And after he did that, he took his body out back and placed him in the coffin, and must have felt some remorse about it and placed some flowers on top of it. But upon walking back inside, the robots mistook him for his twin brother Eugene and ended up murdering Malcolm as well. Or at least that's what I think happened. What do you guys think happened? Which theory do you guys subscribe to? They're the same person, or the robots mistook the twins for each other? Let me know down below. Max Bar. Max Bar is another random encounter that you can come across, and it's rather interesting. It seems like this guy just randomly sets up his bar wherever he sees fit, and upon approaching him, you can see him talking to himself, but he very quickly explains why he does this.
I wonder if I could get some more customers if I hired some busty waitress. Nah, people don't go for that these days.
Hey.
Ah, a new customer. Welcome to Max Bar. We are currently open for business. Please excuse the mess.
Why start a bar out here?
Ever since I was little, I wanted to own a bar. A place where people could come and relax and tell me their troubles. Problem is, real estate is real hard to come by in most of the major settlements. So I figured, why not start out here, huh?
And he acts like any other merchant, except for he will only buy and barter 8 items. So like guns and stuff, that's off the table. So maybe next time you're out walking the Commonwealth, you may come across Max Bar. Lucky Rabbit's Foot. This is a cut weapon that would have appeared in Fallout 4's Nuka World DLC, and it would have taken the place of a grenade, but it would have added 10% XP and 3 to luck. Now I'm not sure why this was ever taken out. Maybe it was seen as a little too OP. I mean, how often do you really use grenades? And I mean, plus 3 to luck is really, really good. But still, it's always interesting to learn about weapons that are cut. And I wish we would have gotten an explanation as to why, because I find that just as interesting. Brahmin synths. Now when you first look into this, you might just think that, oh, with how the game works, a lot of living creatures have a chance to drop synth parts, and that would kind of be correct. But when you dive deeper into it, you realize that there actually are synth Brahmin. One random encounter you can come across is Kelly. She is a wandering Brahmin trader, and she will offer to sell you a Brahmin for 100 caps.
Hey, I got a question for you. I've got a really top-tier piece of cow flesh for sale, if you know what I mean.
What would I do with a Brahmin?
What would you do with it? Oh, you're serious? Well, whatever you want. Some people use them for farming, I hear. Increases productivity quite a bit. That's what I hear, at least.
Sure, I'll take her.
Oh, great, great. Just tell me where you want me to send her, and she's all yours. Good doing business with you, man. I'm sure I'll see you around.
And that deal already sounds way too good to be true. 1 Brahmin for only 100 caps, that's a steal of a deal. And if you ask her about where she got her Brahmin, her response is very interesting. She definitely seems like she's hiding something.
Does this Brahmin really belong to you?
What do you think? It's stolen or something? Nah, she's mine. Of course she's mine. Could be yours too, for a very reasonable price.
Well, if you do end up taking her on her offer and getting the Brahmin, and that Brahmin happens to meet a very interesting end, aka it dies, and you loot the Brahmin, it's gonna have some synth parts on it. Now that's really weird, but maybe it's just a bug. Let's go buy another one. And you end up buying another Brahmin, and it happens to die, it will also have more synth parts. So what is going on here? How come the Brahmin are so cheap? How come she keeps having like an endless supply of them, and why do they have synth parts on them? Well, we do know that the Institute pretty much can make a synth out of anything. I mean, they have spy birds for God's sake. So it's not too far-fetched to say that they might have some synth Brahmin. And what a better way to spy on people. You send out a wandering trader that's selling Brahmin for cheap, an offer that's too good to pass up, and now you have infiltrated numerous settlements. And probably the nail in the coffin, later in the game, they can turn hostile and attack settlements, or if you're siding with the Institute, they will help attack that settlement. So yes, the Institute is everywhere, and synth Brahmin are definitely a thing. Santiago made the cat paintings. So do you remember the cat paintings from earlier? The ones that were in the underwater boat? Well, we actually do know who made them, and it just so happens to be a very famous pre-war artist. And you can learn this in the Far Harbor DLC. Eventually in the DLC, you can come across Vault 118, and by pretending to be a detective, you can get your way in.
Greetings! Welcome to Vault 118, your home away from home, underground. Are you the detective we sent for?
Yes, I'm the detective.
Oh, thank goodness. Let me just open the door for you.
And upon coming inside, you will see something that you probably weren't expecting. You'll see a very lavish vault, the complete opposite of almost every single vault you've probably seen up until now. This one looks like it was actually pleasant to be in. But upon coming inside, you as the quote-unquote detective come across this scene. And as jarring as all that is, you can go talk to the individual quote-unquote residences, who pretty much are all now brains in jars. And one of those is Santiago Avida, who you can talk to about various pieces of his art, where he will eventually get to the cat painting.
And what about this one? And please be honest, for art without honesty is just politics.
This is bullshit.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
You're talking out your ass and wasting my time.
I can see this discourse is wasted on you. Truth be told, this is my best-selling piece. I did this series under a pseudonym, of course. This series has made more money than any of my serious works. And I did the whole thing as a lark. What does that tell you about the value of art to the common man, huh?
So it seems like someone loved his cat painting so much that they tried to escape the end of the world with them, but went down with the ship. Or, that's the headcanon in my mind. Gruul Encounter. This is yet again talking about another random encounter in Fallout 4. You can come across Gruul, who is a raider chef, who is traveling the Mojave looking for ingredients that he can use for his recipes. But unfortunately, the second he sees you, he will be very, very hostile and immediately try to kill you. But upon killing him, he will drop some very interesting things. Number one, his shopping list, where he has a few pounds of Yaoguai meat, half-dozen Deathclaw eggs, Mirelurk meat, soft shell only, beer, lots, and a Cuppa glowing one blood. What they don't know won't hurt them. And he actually has a lot of this on him at that time. So maybe in some other life, this man isn't just a huge piece of shit and tries to kill you right away, and is actually a very popular chef that is able to make the recipes that he wants to make, and not try to shoot us on sight. Cats are synths. First we had Brahmin synths, now we have cat synths. Is there anything that the Institute just isn't gonna meddle in? But this theory is rather interesting. One aspect of it is that you can find cats in the Commonwealth. They're not that uncommon, but they're just normal cats. Nothing has changed. When you look at a lot of other creatures in the Commonwealth, they were regular animals pre-war, but radiation has heavily mutated them into something completely different. but for some reason, cats are one of the only exceptions. I guess you could consider like dog meat an exception too, but he's a companion, so that doesn't count. Cats are just roaming around, and for some reason, unaffected by the radiation. Now, it could all be because, Vault 81 and their little experiment, but speaking of Vault 81, right when you arrive, you will notice that a cat darts out into the waste. And upon this happening, you're told to go talk to its owner, Erin. So you decide to be a good Samaritan and go find her cat. And upon finding it, you can tell it, hey, go home.
Ashes, go home. Aaron misses you.
And apparently the cat is just smart enough to know what that means, and it goes back to the vault. And upon getting back to the vault, you can talk to Erin, where she says this.
I'm so excited Ashes is back. But he acts like nothing happened.
She kind of hints that it's a little weird that he acts like nothing happened, that he's acting maybe a little bit different. Is this because maybe the cat has now become a synth? That is a possibility, but what's more interesting about this quest is that if you decide to take the quest to find Ashes, but you never actually do and you just complete the game, well, you get all the way to the nuclear option quest, you actually can find Ashes in the Institute, where you can then proceed to tell Ashes to go home. So out of all the places to turn up, the cat turns up at the Institute. Is that because it was a synth and it needed to go back for whatever reason? I'm not sure, but I choose to believe it. Vault 101. I'm not 100% sure what this is referring to, so I'm gonna take a educated guess. And I think this is referring to the fact that there is a theory that Vault 101 survivors eventually made their way to the Commonwealth. So we do know that Fallout 4 takes place around 10 years after the events of Fallout 3. And we do know that in Fallout 3, one of the options that you can get for the eventual future of Vault 101 is either have them close themselves off, open themselves up, or just everyone dies and goes to the wasteland. So with this theory, it seems like that they decided to open themselves up. And with 10 years passing by, maybe their traders eventually made their way to the Commonwealth. And the reason for this is because of the Covenant. Remember a couple entries ago when we talked about the save test and the goat test? Well, that's a pretty good indicator that there's some kind of link there. I mean, the first time we really ever heard of that test was in Vault 101. What's more interesting is when you actually dive deeper into the Covenant and uncover their backstory and what exactly is going on here with their quote-unquote synth torture, and you find their super duper secret hidden area, inside this area we can find two interesting things. Number one, these posters that are littered around. That is basically the GOAT test with numerous references to Vault 101. And also a lot of the guards are wearing Vault-Tec armor. And even this doctor right here is wearing a Vault-Tec lab coat. So we have just tons of references going back and forth between some kind of vault, probably Vault 101, and the Covenant. But what's more interesting is there was cut Vault 101 jumpsuits that were going to be in the game, but were taken out. So maybe you would have been able to buy some jumpsuits at the Covenant, which would maybe give further proof that traders made their way from Vault 101 all the way out to the Covenant. Or maybe just somewhere else in the Commonwealth, and all these items just eventually made their way to the Covenant. And the last piece of proof is Swanson himself, the guy that gives you the safe test. Does he or does he not look like a tunnel snake? Now, I can't take any credit for this theory whatsoever. I did my own research and I came across an amazing video by Epic Nate that detailed this out in a much longer format. So if you want to know more about Vault 101 and its connection to Fallout 4, check out that video. Link is down there below in the description. Mind mole rats. When I first read this, I assumed it was like mining mole rats or something to do with them being underground. But no, take it really literally. This is mole rats that have fragmentation mines strapped to their sides. Coming across the unmarked location Kendall Parking, you can come across multiple mole rats, or ratties as you'll see here in a second, that someone was crazy enough to strap fragmentation mines to. And exploring this place a little bit more, you can find someone called the Drifter, who will not initially shoot at you unless she sees her ratties attacking you. And if you have the Animal Friend perk, you can actually initiate some conversation, where she'll say this.
You friend, also the rats. This for you then.
But honestly, I think anybody that's strapping fragmentation mines to mole rats is probably insane and maybe shouldn't be allowed to live. Or maybe they should, because that's actually pretty awesome. You know what? I'm changing my mind. She's all right. Kat and Gus. This is yet again talking about another random encounter where you can come across a little girl and a sentry bot. The little girl's name is Kat and her sentry bot goes by Gus, and she's actually a merchant. You can trade with her. She doesn't really sell anything too important, but a little girl wandering the waste with a sentry bot definitely is gonna raise some eyebrows. But say you decide to kill Gus, trading will no longer be available to you. And because morality, you cannot attack children in Fallout games or recent Fallout games, so Kat is basically immortal. Brooks accepts the charge card. You can come across a junk item called the charge card, which before war is exactly what it sounds like. You put money on it. Very similar to like a credit card or a debit card. But post-war, not very useful. You can run into Parker Quinn's scam where they promise you that this is the better alternative than carrying hundreds of bottle caps.
Sounds good. I'll take one.
Awesome. I'll take your money, and you get the charge card. Great doing business with you. Tell your friends, Parker Quinn, same corner every day. Retard.
But not really many merchants will accept a charge card. That is, unless you talk to Brooks, who upon taking one quick look at it, will give you 100 caps for it.
Hey, this is a long shot, but do you accept this charge card?
Huh? Oh yeah, that thing. Sure do. It'll be easier if I just cash you out. Looks like, what, 100 caps? Here you go.
Which is interesting because before this, no other merchant was really wanting to touch it.
Can I pay with this charge card?
No.
Do you take this charge card?
Caps only, I'm afraid.
Do you take this charge card?
Trying to pull a fast one on me? No. Caps only.
Can I pay with my charge card?
You're kidding, right? Caps only, friend.
Can I use this charge card here?
Is this something synths use to pay for things? We don't take filthy synth money here.
Do you take this charge card?
What now? Oh no way! Parker Quinn got another one. I can't believe it. That old shark. Listen, ain't no one from here to the Quincy Bay gonna accept that useless hunk of plastic. You're better off tossing it.
I bought this charge card. Do you take it?
While I appreciate the novelty of crushing someone under the burden of financial debt, we only accept caps here. If you were to trade for this, I suppose I could give you half a bullet, or perhaps an incredibly sharp toothpick.
Do you accept this charge card?
A charge card? Whoa, I haven't seen one of these since before the war. Sorry, honey, but this thing hasn't been good for about 200 odd years. If you're trading, I might be able to give you a couple of caps for it, but, it's barely worth the plastic it's printed on.
And the reason Brooks accepts it right away is possibly because he's a synth. He escaped from the Institute and remains at Far Harbor and helps greet new synths who also escaped the Commonwealth. So maybe with Brooks being a synth, he can actually see some kind of value being in the charge card. Or maybe this was just a way to hint at that he was a synth early on. Freefall legs in mass fusion. This is talking about unique pieces of armor that you can come across in the mass fusion building. Now normally to get this without doing like any kind of glitches or anything, you're gonna need a set of power armor with a jetpack, and it will be located in a safe at the top of this building. Now there also is a little piece of lore behind this piece of armor. In September of 2077, a man named Jack Rockford started an internship at Mass Fusion, where he saw a problem with the elevator malfunctioning and a lack of emergency stairs to use just in case. And by being inspired by the hydraulics in power armor, he decided to make something of his own, and hence the creation of the freefall legs. By late October, Jack was looking for a cool way to show off this to all of his colleagues, and he planned to bring it out during a Christmas party, and he ended up locking them in the safe until then. But as we know, bombs may or may not have dropped on October 23rd of 2077, which ended up doing enough damage to the building and trapping Jack. Unable to find the key to access the safe, he ended up dying, and the freefall legs would remain locked in the safe until you pick them up. Now these legs are actually very good because it does have an effect that it prevents fall damage, so if you're one of those people that likes to constantly climb up places and then just jump off of them, maybe try to go out of your way to get these. Clara Land. This is talking about an unused cell that's in the game files that, upon saving, will reveal that the name is Clara Land. And this is a very, very interesting test cell because there is just tons of complete randomness here. Some of the more notable things would be a mole rat on a motorcycle, which is a reference to the children's book, The Mouse and the Motorcycle. You got a fish wearing a gas mask, which is a reference to the novel Zodiac. And you have brooms with screwdrivers and buckets attached to them, which would be a reference to the 1940 Disney film Fantasia. But that's not the only just weird thing you can find here. You can find a buoy with a hat, flowers, and a bottle of Vim, a Brahmin skull with pool balls for eyes, a carriage with a mini nuke in it, a teddy bear with soap and a hairbrush, a skull with toothpaste and a toothbrush, a bunch of lobster traps kind of like a pyramid, and Jangles the monkey about ready to go to space. So it seems like whatever this test cell is, they were just having way too much fun with it. Han Solo in Nuka World. This is talking about the Star Wars Easter egg that you can find in the Nuka World DLC. Heading to the Disciples' hideout and going all the way to the top, right next to this campfire, you can find Han Solo. Except for, he's just like in the movie, encased in a square of carbonite. But unlike the movie, he is not human-sized, and it's a lot smaller. And you really don't even have to be a fan of Star Wars to kind of get this reference. Like, that's just how big that scene was in Star Wars. Like, everybody kind of knows it. And there really isn't much more to this little Easter egg other than the fact that someone working on the game was a huge Star Wars fan. Grenade Guy. This is talking about an individual that is running around the Commonwealth, basically trolling raiders. If you happen to be sneaking around a bunch of raiders, you can eavesdrop into a bunch of their stories. And one of their stories is about the Grenade Guy, who is like this mysterious figure up there with like the Puppet Man in the Fallout universe. And the fact that people are constantly telling a story definitely means he left an impression.
You see the last one we tried to pull in? With all the grenades?
I was out doing my rounds. What about him?
Well, Becca pulled him into the front of the store, and everything seemed fine, right? He must have got spooked or something, because he suddenly starts throwing grenades everywhere.
What? What'd you guys do?
That's the thing. It turns out they weren't grenades at all. They were just rocks. He was making the sounds with his mouth. Pins being pulled, the whole 9 yards.
That's fucking nuts. Did you guys take him out?
No, we just stood there. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. After he threw about a half a dozen rocks near the back of the store, he started making machine gun noises and backing toward the door. Once he got outside, it sounded like he pretended to get on a motorcycle, which of course didn't start right away. Then he took off toward the freeway at what sounded like full throttle, shifting gears and everything.
That's insane. How does someone like that survive out here at all?
I don't know. There's some lunatics out there, though. So I'm keeping an eye on those mutant freaks over at Trinity, and this guy comes out of nowhere sprinting down the road. I know he must have seen him standing there from way down the street, but he didn't slow down or even duck into one of the alleys.
What the hell? What'd they do to him? The hounds must have ripped him to shreds. By the way, this guy ain't got nothing on him. Like 10 caps and a desk fan? Who carries around a desk fan?
Ah, damn it. Anyway, they didn't do nothing to the guy. I think they were as confused as I was. Get this, the guy was making sounds.
What do you mean? Was he screaming or something?
Not really. It was almost like he was making motorcycle sounds, like he was pretending he was riding one or something. He was even making gear shifting noises and everything.
So what? Did they just let him drive right by?
Yeah, but he didn't just drive by. He reached in his bag, but didn't seem to take anything out. Until he pulled his hand toward his mouth like he was biting something. Then it looked like he threw it into the Trinity lobby.
What the fuck? What was it? What did he throw?
Nothing. I think he was acting like he threw a grenade at him or something. A second or two later, as he drove his bike down the road, he made a loud boom sound, as if the grenade he had just thrown had exploded.
Are you serious? What a fucking whack job. Whoa, whoa! I think this guy's still moving.
So it seems like somewhere out there in the waste, there's a guy that has like god-tier voice acting abilities and is just running around trolling raiders and just getting away with it. I respect that. Father isn't Sean. This is like a really old theory, and I'm talking like 7, 8 years old that people used to kind of subscribe to back in the day that states that the father that you meet when you first go to the Institute is not actually your kid. And over the years, people would come up with all these crazy conspiracy theories and quote-unquote proof as to why this was so. As of today, I'm pretty sure it's common knowledge that father is actually your kid. Or is he? One of the more popular theories that I saw about this had to deal with 4 distinct things. Number 1, Kellogg. When you talk to Kellogg, Kellogg always refers to Sean as kid.
Pal, I'm just a puppet like you. My stage is a little bigger, that's all. Sean's a good kid. Bit older than you expected, am I right? But he's doing great. Only, he's not here. He's with the people pulling the strings.
And we know that Kellogg eventually came to hate the Institute, but he did have a soft spot for Sean. So would he still hate the Institute as much if Father and Sean were the same person? And after you beat the game during the ending scene, the kid will give you this holotape.
If you are hearing this, then whatever conflicts you and I have endured are over. I have no reason to believe that you'll honor the request I'm about to make. But I feel compelled to try anyway. This synth, this boy, he deserves more. He has been reprogrammed to believe he is your son. It is my hope that you will take him with you. I would only ask that you give him a chance. A chance to be part of whatever future awaits the Commonwealth.
And it seems like Father made this tape before you actually ever meet him. Because if you kill Father right when you meet him, you can still get the tape. And if you side with the Institute, the quote-unquote kid will say, "Don't you think it's weird? I've never seen the surface." Meaning this is a totally different kid from the one in Diamond City. Next has to revolve around the Institute, and the fact that they don't want you there. Father never wanted to see you in the Institute, or else they would have made it a lot easier for you to get there. His original goal was for Kellogg to kill you, but things didn't go that way, so he kind of had to improvise. And lastly, Father is a liar. He runs the Institute, the very same organization that hides underground, kills, and replaces people with synth replicates. The same secrecy and lying that you can see all across the Commonwealth. So why would you believe anything this man says? Now, if you look at all that at face value, you would maybe think that Father isn't Sean, but I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed that Father is definitely Sean. Now, like I said, this theory is like 7, 8 years old and was very popular more around the time that the game first came out, and since then has kind of just been forgotten about. Lorenzo Cabot's random encounter. After you have completed the quest, The Secret of Cabot House, and have released Lorenzo Cabot from his cell, you can eventually come across him in a random encounter, where he will be examining some dead ghouls. And upon talking to him, he can basically say that he's trying to study them and figure out what makes them tick.
Well, well, fate brings us together again. I'm so enjoying the chance to finally experience this new world of ours.
Did you kill those people?
Oh, you mean the ones with the radiation syndrome? Yes, I did. I've been collecting data from as many people as I can find with that radiation syndrome, which seems to increase longevity. Ghouls, I think, is the colloquial term these days. The prejudice of the common folk towards the ugly and different is one thing that hasn't changed. I find it a simply fascinating subject, especially the parallels with my own condition.
Have you actually learned anything about what causes people to become ghouls?
No, not yet. I'm just at the beginning of my research. I'll need to collect much more data before I can start drawing any conclusions. Until next time.
Unused LaCoiffe. I know I completely probably butchered that. I tried to listen to how it was pronounced like 50 times and that's the best I could do. But this is a skill magazine in Fallout 4, and upon reading it, we'll actually unlock some new hairstyles. Now, so far in the game, there's only issue 1 and 2 that will unlock the Megaton hair and the Hornet's Nest and the Anchorage hair. But there are actually 3 other unused skill magazines. You have issue 3, the Jackie O' My, you have issue 4, and you have issue 5, which is the Anchorage hair. But to get issue 5 hair, you just have to read issue 1 and 2, and that will unlock issue 5 hair. Even though issue 5 isn't actually findable in the game. A little confusing. I gotta say, I'm a little upset because issue 3, I really like that hairstyle. Kind of upset it's not in the game. Home run. This is talking about an achievement that you can get in Diamond City, where if you run all of the bases, you get a home run. Starting at home plate, if you run to first, second, third, and go back to home, you get the achievement, which makes a lot of sense. They live in a baseball field. Of course, there's going to be an achievement based on that. Deadeye. This is talking about a blind super mutant that you can find in the Fraternal Post 115. Upon entering, you see something rather strange. A bunch of blinding lights and a super mutant with what appears to be bandages over his eyes listening to a Diamond City radio. And he's not initially hostile, but the closer you get to him, the more he warns you to stay away.
I hear you, rat! Go away! Get out, rat! Who's there?
But if you do get too close, he will set off an alarm and a bunch of super mutants will come out of the next room and basically jump your ass. And to be honest, that's what you get. You kind of broke into this guy's house. He tells you very politely to leave and you just end up trying to pick a fight with him. In my opinion, totally justified. Pen stabbed skeleton. This is talking about a skeleton you can find in the Vault-Tec regional HQ. And upon entering the HQ, we can read through dozens of terminals to kind of piece together the background of what exactly happened here before the bombs fell. And one of the people that we can read about is called Martin Reed, who slowly began to discover that something wasn't right with Vault-Tec. Whether it was spotting very bizarre shipments of addictive drugs to Vault 95, or finding a shipment for Vault 111 marked Vault 111 Do Not Open, and upon opening it, finding gallons of liquid nitrogen. And after discovering all these weird things that Vault-Tec was doing, on October 22nd, Martin Reed submitted his notice for resignation, which couldn't have come at a better time. Because unbeknownst to him, his boss, Frank Davidson, was probably planning to kill him. Reading through even more terminals, we can learn that this Davidson guy was an absolute maniac. Apparently, he once broke a pool cue over Roger's head because he stood too close to the table when Davidson was about to take his shot. And he also notes that in his personal log, when Sharon accidentally spilled coffee on his new shirt on October 13th, he had a burning desire to stab her in the throat with his pen, should it ever happen again. And it seems like he actually fulfilled this on October 17th, because a man named Walter Scott would start to worry when he noticed that Sharon was not coming in for work. And on October 19th, Frank Davidson wrote in his logs that he had the same desire to discipline Reed or repeatedly voicing his theories concerning the company's alleged sinister plans. So it seems like Martin Reed had gotten out just in time, or else he would have suffered the same fate as Sharon, whose body we can supposedly find, laying face down with a pen right next to it. Now, I'm not sure if this is a reference to anything, because when I first heard about this, to me it seemed like a reference to John Wick. In the original John Wick, which came out in 2014, there is a story about him killing 3 people with a pencil.
I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil.
And Fallout 4 came out in 2015, so maybe this could be a reference to it, or maybe it's just a stretch. But I choose to believe things that are more interesting, and it's way more interesting to think that this is all some elaborate John Wick reference. So that's what I'm gonna believe. And editing me here, I think YouTube spies on me because I randomly just got recommended a video of the movie Casino, in which one of the characters sticks up for his friend by stabbing another man repeatedly in the neck with a pen. Could be a reference to that, or they could have just said, hey, make this guy kill somebody with a pen. I don't know, there's probably a million things that this could reference, but the YouTube gods are listening to me and they had that video on my feed, so I thought I should mention it. Off the Grid. Off the Grid is a cut quest in Fallout 4 that we really only have the icon for, which shows the Vault Boy in the stadium as the lights kind of shut off around him. And I actually found a post on Reddit that details what exactly this quest may have been. And it reads, just before you blow up the Institute with your preferred faction, you would have gotten this quest. It seems to have been about the power to Diamond City being cut off by the Institute as a bargaining chip, or something. There's also this massive TV screen that was meant to be a part of Diamond City. And I think instead of the Institute's declaration of existence just being over the radio, I think originally the Institute was going to cut off power up the giant TV screen with Father giving the Institute speech over it. Remember how post-Endgame, your main faction appears in Diamond City? I think that was also meant to be a part of this quest, a more diegetic way for your faction to end up controlling a Diamond City. And honestly, if that's how this was going to happen, that seems like a pretty cool way. Instead of just hearing it over the radio, you get to watch it on a big jumbotron. I like that. I subscribe to this idea. Vault 118 copied Autumn Leaves. So if you do not know what Autumn Leaves is, it's a Fallout New Vegas mod. And the theory goes that when making Vault 118, the developers really liked this mod and decided to pretty much just copy and paste it. Let's take a look at some of the similarities. When you first enter both of these vaults, you get talked to by the quote-unquote caretaker of the vaults.
Greetings! Welcome to Vault 118, your home away from home, underground. Are you the detective we sent for?
Yes, I'm the detective.
Oh, thank goodness. Let me just open the door for you.
Oh, is there somebody out there? What? A radio broadcast? So, there's still people out there fitted with a Pip-Boy, huh? Yes, we are. You're coming from a vault, aren't you? Well, I don't see why we should have this conversation through an intercom. Please, come inside. I fear I must ask you to come in alone, though. We have a strict policy when it comes to our maximum number of guests.
But upon entering both vaults, both main quests have to revolve around a murder, and you checking the crime scene and speaking to the other robots in the vault. The person that died was the main guy behind the vault, who worked alongside Vault-Tec to build it.
Well, it's about time the police sent someone out to investigate. We have many important residents and they're very worried.
What happened? Who died?
It's Mr. Parker, the primary owner and financier for the hotel. This is just a disaster.
Back when titles were still relevant, he was a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and chief science officer of ROPCO. His domain of expertise, as you surely guessed, artificial intelligence. All that we know is that one day we found him in this position, under a pile of books. He hasn't moved ever since. As for now, we theorize that he tripped and tried to catch something to stop his fall. The bookshelf came down with him.
There's also this important tidbit about voice modulators.
I'd like to hear more about your research.
Oh, wonderful. No one else here really wants to talk about it. Functionally, this model is more or less the same as the previous versions I worked on, but without the neural inhibitor and the reconditioning. The voice modulator seems to have some minor issues interfacing with the neural matrix, which can add some moodiness. But that's easily solved with regular tune-ups.
Well, Roland forbids me to tell that story, but I'm not supposed to follow his orders anyway. It's a rather amusing story, to be honest. As you know, our master defined Roland to be offensive and irritating in great variety of ways. And there was one method which he was very proficient with. Impersonation. Seeing how we resemble each other physically, the only way our master could differentiate us at the time was our voice modules. Then one fine day, Roland discovered he could mimic both my and James's voices. He'd then pass up as one of us and act as if he was malfunctioning. For a time, our master bought it and went to great troubles trying to repair us, until he realized that Rollo was mocking him all along. So he put a cowboy hat and star on him so he could never fool him again.
And then there's this.
Why don't we grab a bottle of wine and go watch the sunset?
Sounds good, detective. Fine, I'm going to the beach. That was great, detective, but we probably shouldn't make a habit of this. Catch you later, Tiger.
Well, I'm glad this is over. I was beginning to wonder if I had to suck you off to top off this moment of unbelievable embarrassment. It was a joke. Don't frown at me like a robot never offered to suck your dick before.
And there's also you having to talk to a robot about different pieces of art.
Tell me, what does this piece say to you?
It's about composition, the balance of colors and emotions, and the struggle to maintain internal order.
Indeed, this was the last piece I did in a series of portraits of Gilda, number 1378. Her emotional landscape is superimposed on the portrait. The reality of the subject is distorted as the ego attempts to project itself.
Like you're in any position to know what art is, you savage. The picture right behind the counter, that spiral thing, you know what that is? Okay, smarty pants, you got me, but what does it prove? Hey, I can think fourth dimensionally, so you just enjoy your landscapes, Dingleberry. Well, holy shit, is my face red. I've been humiliated.
So it definitely seems like Bethesda played the mod and was like, all right, this is ours, yoink. But what upset a lot of people is that they didn't give the original mod creator really anything. The mod creator had this to say: I honestly thought Bethesda staff played Autumn Leaves, had a blast with it, I hope, took some things out of it, and made it their own thing for Far Harbor. And I seriously think it's perfectly okay. After all, Autumn Leaves inspirations are countless. Asimov's Cluedo, Landscape Torment, Arcanum, older Fallouts, etc. And being influenced is a natural part of the writing process. And to me, that's very fair. If he's not upset with it, nobody else should really be upset with it. And I mean, hey, we got a cool mod and a cool vault to explore. Win-win. Curie is your grandkid. So this one's kind of disgusting when you actually, sit down and think about it. So you, the sole survivor, have a son named Sean. And Sean's DNA was used to make Gen 3 synths. And when you end up putting Curie's body in a synth, she's technically, in a weird way, your grandkid. And I guess technically, so would the other synths that you can romanticize. In reality, the synth project was almost done. They only needed a little bit from Sean to kind of perfect it. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything about DNA or anything, but it seems like they just kind of took the bits and pieces that they need and used it. I don't know. The more I think about this, the more I just don't want to pay attention to it. And the more I think the developers just were like, hey, just don't think about it, man. Because you're either banging a distant relative or you're not. And come on, it's Curie. That accent, though.
Do you need something from me?
Saving Private Ryan Easter egg. Heading to the ruined church in Far Harbor and heading all the way to the top, you can find a skeleton that looks an awful lot like a World War II German soldier with a sniper rifle right next to it. And if you've ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, there is a scene where the main characters have to counter-snipe a German sniper that is hiding in the top of a tower. And in the movie, he ends up shooting the German sniper right through his scope out his eye, which is actually a reference to a real sniper, Carlos Hathcock, that actually did make that shot in Vietnam. But coming back to Fallout 4, we don't have any damage to the skeleton's face, so it's hard to tell if this is an exact reference to the movie, which is a reference to Carlos Hathcock. But I mean, come on, it looks like a World War II German soldier with a sniper in a bell tower, and he's dead. It makes perfect sense. Cool Meat. This is talking about a side quest called Mystery Meat, where upon going to the Longneck Lukowski's cannery, you can hear a conversation between Theodore Collins and a trader named Riley.
Cans? You can't only take 10 cans. You know, it tastes better than that old cram or brahmin that's been sitting out in the sun for days. There are people out there who are hungry. You just gotta sell up the product a bit more.
I'm sorry, but 10 cans is all I can commit to right now. It was selling like crazy for a while there, but there's been talk about people getting sick.
People get sick all the time. That has nothing to do with my product. Besides, I mean, I'm only selling the meat you people bring me. If there's something wrong with it, it's your own damn fault.
Oh, so now it's my fault? Forget it, the deal's off. You want to sell your product to the people out there? Then you can get out there and do it your damn self.
What? Hey, come on. Fine, leave. You'll be back.
And upon talking to them, Theodore will give you a quest. He tells you to go clear out an infestation of mole rats in the building. And upon accepting and taking the quest, you can slowly start to piece together that that's not all that's going on here. You eventually come to figure out that he's been slicing the meat with ghoul meat. And upon this revelation, you can go back to Theodore, where he immediately becomes hostile, and you have no other choice but to kill him.
I told you to stay out of the basement. Now that you know my little secret, I'll just have to kill you.
But if you actually can manage to get within range of him, you can make him plead for his little miserable life.
Whoa! 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 Hey, look, it doesn't have to be this way. Look, we can run this place together. You look the other way and I'll give you a cut of the profits.
So you can feed people ghoul meat?
Hey, ghouls are no different than any other dumb animal. They're an untapped food source. What do you say? I mean, you help keep this quiet, I run the cannery, we both make a fortune.
Fine, but don't cross me again.
Oh man, I thought you were gonna kill me for sure. Woo, here's your cut. I'll get this place cleaned up and I'll even give you a discount on the meat.
But I mean, if someone's out there selling ghoul meat to people, do they really deserve to live? Sentient mannequins. If there is one thing that we know about Fallout 4, it's that these mannequins can be pretty terrifying. They don't ever do anything, but just some of the positions that you can find them in makes it seem like they are alive and are moving around on their own free will whenever you're not looking. You can find them in various positions, having murdered people in bathtubs, sleeping in the bed with skeletons, or even pretending to play house. But the creepiest one has to be in the Far Harbor DLC. In this sunken boat, you can come across a very disturbing scene. With how the mannequins are all laid out, it appears that the mannequins rose up and took over the ship and killed everyone that was on it. It definitely seems like they are alive. And it doesn't help that you can find this note. I can't wait to drop these damn mannequins off. The crew is starting to claim that they are hearing weird noises from the cargo. Maybe they are just playing pranks on me. Whatever, we are almost there. So it definitely seems like there might be killer mannequins just walking around the waste. Companions are religious. I think this is talking about an interesting little tidbit to where if you are entering a church and you just sit there for a while or just stand around and do nothing, your companions will eventually sit down in one of the pews and start praying. It seems like walking around with you throughout the waste made them have a religious awakening, which would be a really cool bit of storytelling. But in actuality, it's just a random thing that they do when you're not doing anything. Kind of like how NPCs will do random tasks if you're just sitting there doing nothing, your followers will also do the same thing. And with church pews littered around, of course they're going to sit down and appear to be praying. Or maybe that's just what people want you to think, and maybe these characters are actually religious. What do you think? Walking Dead Easter egg. I'm not sure which one this is talking about, so I'm going to include both. The first one is a reference to the Walking Dead video game. In Fallout 4, you can come across a red tractor that seems to have ran over this settler, with a bunch of ghouls surrounding it. And if you didn't know, this is a reference to Season 1, I believe Episode 2 of Telltale's Walking Dead, in which one of the most annoying characters of all time, Duck, accidentally starts a tractor running over Sean, pinning him to the ground. And you have an option to either save Duck or save Sean. And it seems like in the Fallout universe, when this happened, they chose to save the annoying child Duck. But in the end, I don't think if you chose to save Sean, it would matter, because I'm pretty sure he dies in the end regardless. Now, the other reference is actually to the TV show. In the Commonwealth, there is a Union's Hope Cathedral, where upon entering you can hear someone asking for help, and that person is Father Gabe, who seems to be fighting a pack of feral ghouls, and will always be hostile towards you no matter how much help you give him, so what a douche. And this is a reference to the character Father Gabriel from the show The Walking Dead, who survived the zombie apocalypse by hiding inside the church until the main characters are able to come and rescue him. Remember the quarry. This is talking about Mama Murphy and her future sight, where if you give her some chems, she will give you a glimpse of the future, and this can be very helpful if you do it before a certain quest. If you give her some chems before the quest Unlucky Valentine, she will reveal a passphrase to get Skinny Malone to let you leave.
You're looking for a man. He can help you, but he ain't gonna be the man you expect. He's somewhere deep and dark, surrounded by folks with nothing but cruel intentions. But there's an echo, something in the past that can help you. When you meet the fat man and the angry woman, tell them to remember the quarry and Lily June on the rocks, and they'll let you and your friend pass.
Wait. Skinny. Remember the quarry. Lily June on the rocks. Ring any bells?
How the hell did you know about that? Okay, you two can go. You got until the count of 10. Then I don't care what happened back in the old days. You're dead.
What are you doing, Skinny? Kill him!
No, darling. They get one chance to leave. Skinny Malone's putting his foot down.
My mother was right. You monsters are all just talk.
And if you give her chems during the quest Getting a Clue, she will reveal the location of Kellogg's keys.
You're on the trail of the man. I see a house, locked up tight, chains put on by a smiling shark. But there's another way. I can see it. A key. Lost and forgotten. Fallen down below. Search the chairs beneath the house. They hold the secret. You walk into a house. The man who owns it has secrets. But he's no fool. He hides everything in a closet with no doors. But I see him, kid. He's sitting down. Brought out the red toolbox and the coffee. Then he reaches beneath where he's working, and the closet opens.
Well, that's one way to hide a room.
If you decide to keep being an enabler and give her chems during the quest Reunions, you will be granted the perk for knowledge, which causes Kellogg to deal 25% less damage.
I can only see that you're on the right path. If you had any doubts in your mind, you shouldn't. The man you're after, he's the one. He wears all the pain he's caused like a shield. Be strong, kid. The sight's getting foggy, but your energy is glowing brighter than you know. You can win this. He can't hurt you anymore.
And if you just really don't care about morals, you can continue giving her chems during the quest Hunter/Hunted, which will give you the deactivation code for the Courser.
I see you, the mighty hunter. Only what you're hunting ain't an animal or a man. It's something different. Maybe something more than human. But what's this? I see a man in a white outfit standing over your prey, and he says something. It's hard to make out, but I'm trying, kid. He says Z247, initialize factory reset, Authorization code Zeta 53 Kilo. And then he falls. And he's still.
Are you here for the synth?
C247, initialize factory reset. Authorization code Zeta 53 Kilo.
How did you?
Oh no. You should have seen this coming.
This can't be happening. Not again. She's gone.
Killer Gnomes. Across all of the Far Harbor DLC, you can find gnomes in various positions. Whether they're sailing on a ship, operating heavy machinery, or driving cars, you're bound to find a gnome doing something silly. But there are some gnomes that appear to have just murdered somebody. Whether it's chopping their heads off, or posed with multiple skulls around them, or even on top of a cliff seemingly having thrown someone off the ledge. There are plenty of gnomes that appear to have straight up just murdered somebody. So whether the gnomes and mannequins are truly sentient, or this is just really good environmental storytelling, it's a coin flip at this point. But I'm all for it, and I hope we see more killer gnomes and mannequins in the future. Donkey Kong. This is talking about Red Menace, which was a Pip-Boy game that was made by Vault-Tec Game Studios in 2075, and it basically is propaganda against the Chinese Communist forces. Found on the Vault 111 recreational terminal in the cafeteria, you can play it, and upon playing it, you will notice that it's very, very similar to Donkey Kong. You must rescue the Vault Girl from basically the Chinese by dodging bombs and jumping over barrels, all while climbing up the stairs. And upon beating the game, you actually can take it with you and play it on your Pip-Boy whenever you want. So if you ever get bored throughout the waste, you can always just load up a bootlegged version of Donkey Kong and have some fun. Preston Garvey Imposter. Another random encounter that you can come across is pretty funny. You can come across someone impersonating Preston Garvey. He basically is trying to scam you out of some caps for the Minutemen, but you can straight up just call his bluff and he'll start to run away. And if you've ever just gotten sick and tired of Preston Garvey telling you another settlement needs your help, but you don't want to kill him, I guess killing this guy is just as good.
Hey man, I don't think we've met, but your time is impeccable. Preston Garvey, Commonwealth Minutemen.
Yeah? And I'm the general.
Ha! That's a good one. Well, I see you already know about us. You might have heard we're making a comeback. The general sent me to collect donations from concerned citizens like yourself. Help us out, and you can count on the Minutemen to be there when you need us. Can I put you down for, say, 100 caps?
No, really. I am the general.
Oh, shit.
Megaton note. Near the Museum of Witchcraft in a hollowed out rock, you can find this note. To S. Been too long. Sorry I missed you at Megaton. Looks like history repeats itself. But as promised, here's the gear I scrounged up. All the best and stay safe. The Commonwealth is its own kind of hell. E. And if you didn't know, this is actually a Fallout 3 reference. In Fallout 3, just outside of Megaton in a hollowed out rock, you can also find a very, very similar note that says, to S, here's the stuff you wanted. If anyone asks where you got it, say it was a gift from your grandma. Happy hunting, E. So it seems like this S&E person have been traveling all over and are constantly in talks with each other through various notes in hollowed out rocks. But what's even funnier is in the Elder Scrolls 3's Morrowind's Blood Moon expansion, you can find another note from S&E. To S, here's the equipment I told you about. Remember, the weak deserve no mercy. E. So it seems like S&E aren't just going from different areas in Fallout, they're also transcending games. That's like godlike abilities. Gilda hates Vera. This is yet again another Fallout New Vegas reference, and it's talking about Vera Keys from the Fallout New Vegas Dead Money DLC, who you never actually get to meet, but you can find their hologram and unfortunately their dead body. And out of all the characters we never get to meet, but we get to learn about, in my opinion, in the entirety of the Fallout universe, Vera is one of the most interesting ones. And in Fallout 4, if we head back to Vault 118, we can again talk to Gilda, who was a former Hollywood actress. And upon talking to her, she doesn't really have nice things to say about Vera Keyes.
Did you know that I was supposed to star in Love Set Sail? The only reason that bitch Vera got the part is because her uncle was the producer. Did you need something else?
She seems to really dislike Vera because she took her role in Love Set Sail, which we have seen numerous posters for. And I'm not gonna sit here and take this Vera Keyes slander from some robot in a jar that let me bang them. I will simp for Vera, and I will not have this blasphemy by this brain in a jar.
Never mind. I'll be around. Fine. I'm going to the beach.
That is going to be the end of today's video. Hopefully you guys learned something new. And if you guys did, let me know what it was down below in the comments. And that's really all I got for you guys. If you want to see more icebergs, click here and here. That's it. Leave.